Well, welcome everybody. John Cheplak here today with you, and I am excited to bring you an hour of leadership and real estate sales expertise from obviously my good friend Mike Prewett of Century 21 Connect Realty down in Atlanta. I came appropriately dressed for our time together. So, welcome, Mike. So glad to have you here with us.
Glad to be here. Gold star for you today.
All right, good, good. So, anyways, well, let's just jump right in and let's go to right before real estate and share with everyone, what you did before real estate and then how decided that, what, this is where I'm going to go. So take us back if you would.
Gosh, that feels like another lifetime ago. But I got out of school in the mid 80s, came out of Georgia, went to work for a local bank. In my early 20s, quickly realized that, the job and everything that I wanted was 10 years down the road. And when you're in your early 20s, 10 years is a long time. So I started thinking, okay, so how can I work for myself? And I didn't know anything, and I didn't have any money, and I didn't have the ability to raise any money. I didn't have family access. So sales became the default scenario. And then it's insurance, medical equipment, pharmaceuticals, real estate. Real estate looked the easiest of all those things. So I went the real estate route and never got out. I was lucky that I kind of stumbled into what turned out to be the right thing for me.
How long ago did you get into real estate sales?
87. So 87, got my license, quit my job. So I do what I'm so typical. So I quit my job. I get my real estate license, quit my job, go to work at Coldwell Banker, an agent on the day two. So we did office meetings on Tuesday, right? So I start on a Monday. Tuesday, we do our little office meeting. Then we all go out and hop in cars and go on caravan, right?
Yeah.
I just cringe now. An agent did me the greatest favor. I still see her sometimes and I hug her and kiss her because we get in the car and as we're pulling out of the parking lot, she turned around and looked at me in the back seat and said, "So Mike, where are you going to get your business from?" And I swear to God, John, it never crossed my mind. I don't know what I thought. I guess I thought, looking back on it, well, I've got my real estate license and I'm at Coldwell Banker, so people walk into the office and need to buy or sell a home, right? And somebody yells back into the back and says, "Hey, Mike, this person needs to sell a home. Can you come up?" Yeah. I guess that's what I thought. Oh, but wow. I can remember when she said that to me, John, I had the most massive anxiety attack. Literally, my whole body broke out into a sweat. I quit my job. I have no idea where my business is going to come from. And that was the single greatest thing that could have happened to me. And thankfully, it was on day two. I look around the industry now and I see people that come in and meet with me and they've been in the business for years and have never been asked that question. Yeah. So that person helped me quite a bit. I stayed at Coldwell Banker for about 6 or 7 months, and I was the 25-year-old who was willing to do anything. Just tell me what to do. If you show me how I can make money and I believe you, I'll do it. So I would knock on doors. I would cold call. I didn't like it, but I was willing to do it. Within that first 6 months, I was leading all the production categories in this office, and I didn't like that. And a friend of mine left and went over to Remax, and Remax was just coming into the Atlanta market in the mid 80s. And so I went there, and that was a great move for me, not because Remax was a superior organization, but what it did was it put me in an environment around a lot of really experienced, high-producing agents at the time. And keep in mind, this is the 80s, right? Sure. So we weren't doing any Google Hangouts in the 80s. And they pushed me, those agents around me. I got lucky. They kind of adopted me a little bit. I was so young and naive and stupid. I think they felt sorry for me and didn't want to see me starve. So they would push me into getting into the Mike Prewett program. And I said, well, I don't have any money. I can't afford it. And they would just keep saying the same thing. Well, that's why you have to do it. Beg, borrow, cheat, steal, whatever you have to do, you have to get into it. And so I did. And that that really worked well for me at that time and that age because, again, I just needed somebody to tell me the daily action steps, and I was willing to do it. Well, I really got into everything. Um, it, I felt a little uncomfortable because back then it was almost cult-like, and I watched people get hurt trying to get into. He would have the superstar retreat, and people would get trampled being indoors.
It was
And I thought, well,
amazing.
that's
Amazing.
amazing. I mean, how do you get people to trample each other to get in and pay to hear you talk? But that whole program worked really well for me, and from there it just kind of evolved into I started. At the time, we didn't call it teams. It just was a natural, unplanned evolution for me, and I started finding that I was more oriented toward REO niche product.
Mm.
And it wasn't because now in the 80s and 90s, there wasn't a lot of REO product.
Mm-hmm.
I just gravitated to it because it made more sense to me. It was more of a business to business product than business to consumer. And I liked the fact that I was able to control my time a little bit better. And it was totally on the listing side. Well, starting in 98, 99, that product started growing rapidly. And since 2000, I left Remax being number one in the state and top 5 in the world in the early 2000s and started my own company. And we've been doing that for the last 10, 15 years and really happy with it. I think 2011 was our peak year. We closed 1,504 transaction sites, almost all listing sites that year. We've averaged over the last decade around 700 to 1,000. That product's returning back to a more healthy marketplace now. I think this year we'll do about 500 transaction sites, and we ought to settle in around 350 to 500 sites for the foreseeable future, as that returns back to being less than 1% of total sales. So about a year and a half ago, Century 21 approached me and said that they wanted to expand their footprint in the Atlanta market. And the franchise sales guy that they assigned to me was really a good sales guy. And I like this. So I'm in sales. I actually appreciate I like getting telemarketers at night. I want to give you a couple of objections, see how I'm not buying anything, but I do appreciate the process. Yeah. And this was the first, we've gone down this road a couple times, but this guy was the first guy that stuck with me and actually was a professional sales guy. So at the same time, I was looking to diversify my business, and this was a good opportunity to do that. So we agreed about a year ago to join the Century 21 brand. And well, that did what I wanted it to do. It certainly diversified my business. Now, all of a sudden, I'm not just running an REO team, right? My own little niche company. We do one thing. We do it really well. I was doing 1,000+ transaction sites a year, working 3.5, 4 days a week. 4 days a week was a hard week. I would complain about that. And now I'm in the recruiting and retention business. Yeah. So I still have my REO team, and it's still going to do 500 sites, but now I've got to grow a franchise. So I'm in recruiting and retention. So I go to the Century 21 conference last year and stumbled into your room and sat down. Hadn't really been exposed to it before. Sat there and listened to it. And the one thought that I came out of the room with was, I can sell with integrity this way. I don't have to hardcore recruit. I don't have to do hey, John, if you felt like you could make more money in less time by working with my company, would you be prepared to make that decision today? I don't have to do that. With you know what? I can sell and recruit with a little bit more integrity. It's more compliant with my faith. It allows me to be the guy I wish I was. So I sat in an hour session and you did in DC last year at their conference, and went, this I've got to become a part of. And it's been a huge help over the past year as we've diversified our business, and I have to acquire a lot of new skills that I didn't necessarily have before. So hopefully. that's
Well,
what you were looking for.
well, no, yeah, that's a great backstory and brings us up to where we're at now. So going back to when you broke off and opened your own company, it run really, parallel to how we see the large agent teams essentially versus a real estate company with a bunch of different agents. Talk about those. I think it was 10 years you said that you had your own company.
So when we did this, the team concept wasn't really as prevalent as it is today.
Mm-hmm.
In retrospect, what I was doing was forming a large team, but I didn't really know it at the time. I was just taking the next logical step to support a business that was growing, but I didn't really say, well, I'm going to form a team.
Mm-hmm.
Now people are much more conscious about what they're doing, though I think they're forming teams a lot of times for the wrong reasons. But that's a different conversation.
Yes.
So we ran it as you would call it today in 2016. We ran it like you would run a large team. We just didn't feel the need for the company affiliation. And part of that, John, was Remax actually forced my hand on this. I decided that I wanted all my staff, even the ones that weren't conducting real estate business, I wanted everybody licensed. And Remax came back to me and said, well, we want all licensees paying full Remax dues. And that was kind of it for me. That was the straw. We had been having conflict. I was getting too big for that franchise.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I accounted for 19% of the total franchise's sales activity.
Wow.
I was just getting too big for their system at the time, and that was the straw. So I was just like, well, at this money, I'm better off having my own independent company. And again, even back in 2000, we just didn't have the technology issues. I don't know if you can do that today and be competitive. Our technology in 2000 was voicemail and fax machines. Right. So now today, we need smartphone apps and we need online universities and Google Hangouts. We need a lot. That was part of my decision to join Century 21 is I became convinced that the technology that's coming to our industry is big check technology, and local independents are going to have a more and more challenging time being able to provide the technology to their agents. And it wasn't that big of a deal. Today, it really is to be able to be competitive. So when we broke off in 2000, it was just more of a that's the last straw kind of thing, and there were no reasons not to. If that was today, it might be a different decision-making process.
Right. So let's go back to what are you, probably 14, 15 months into opening your Century 21? Or has it been a little bit longer? Right in there?
And 5 days and 4 hours.
Right. So when you opened up, it was just your team, which is certainly still intact. And then, but as far as an agent population that you were going to grow, because you said, okay, I've got my team intact, but now I'm going to grow really saying, hey, here's a team. Now let's grow this real estate brokerage side of it. And so talk about that first year of the recruiting end of things. Talk about that journey.
Well, that's been an interesting road to travel down. We started off, and I call this, and this, I am not proud of this by any means, but I call it the disease of affluence. We were doing so well that we didn't have to challenge ourselves. I mean, the challenge was keeping up with the organic growth that we had created. In retrospect, I should have been trying to capture buyer side transactions for the last 20 years. And I wasn't because I didn't have to. And if I get a do-over, I do it much differently. I do what I don't have to do. I do what I should do. And I would have had a more well-rounded company. I'd have more money left today too. Yeah, well, there's always that. So listen to what I did wrong if anybody's listening to this, and be aggressive even when you don't have to be aggressive. I think it's a disease, but again, that's another session.
Sure.
So when we started off with Century 21, I think we had 2 agents on staff. 14 months ago, we had 2 or 3. And we basically had those so the buyers would quit filing complaints because we didn't return their calls. That's how bad we were about that.
So those are two buyers agents that were or two real estate agents that operated in a buyer, handling buyers in addition to the team that was in place and running when you opened your doors, right?
Yeah. So from the last 14 months, and I don't think we would have been able to do this if I hadn't stumbled into your room that day. Well, how do you build a brokerage? Well, I don't really know. I've been a pretty niche player. Century 21, I think they thought I was something that I wasn't necessarily at the time. I think we've gotten a lot better about it with your help over the past year, but we really I had to figure out how to recruit, how to retain, because I was pretty good at bringing in 20 and fire 15. I got pretty good at that. How to relate with realtors, how to coach, how to build a competitive brokerage, even with a worldwide brand behind me. What's my unique value position in my marketplace? And Atlanta is a hyper competitive market. We've got a lot of strong competition. So I've got to compete with that, and I've got to answer the question that every other agent has to answer, but I have to answer it at a brokerage level. Why should we affiliate with you? What makes you any different? What makes you better? What's my value to choosing your company? And you're not a discount operation. So I feel like I'm going to pay more. Why should I do that? And we've got to be able to answer that. Mm-hmm. And I got really lucky 28 years ago that an agent asked me where my business was going to come from. I got really lucky 14 months ago when I stumbled into your room too, or I'd still be trying to figure out how to answer that unique value proposition. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I'm fortunate that we crossed paths. So talk about the that first 12 months of recruiting. How many people did you guys bring in the first 12 months in addition to running the team? Because what I want people to see is a couple things here is capacity, and I know that it's stretched you, it's challenged you. So just so that because people say, well, I'm too busy and I don't have time to do this. So number one, what did your team close in 2015?
2015, we only really track transaction sites. I don't have much.
Yeah, just transactions.
Else. So we closed 716 transaction sites on my team in 2015.
Good. So now let's flip over. At the same time, most people would say, you're kidding me, and you're opening up a real estate brokerage firm. And so let's fast forward to that first 12 months, if you will, and then we'll backfill, if you will.
Okay.
How many people did you bring in the first 12 months? Recruits into the real estate sales office side of it in addition to your team?
So you've had to listen to me whine and complain about this for the past year, and you've talked me in and off the ledge a number of times. So right now today we have 41 associates with our company. We over the last 14 months we have brought in 74.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can do the math. So 33 of them aren't with us anymore.
Sure.
Of the 33, 30 of them, it was my idea. So we start off, and I'm like, well, I'm going to recruit. You might remember my whole thing was I want 100 by Christmas Day. That's what I just kept on every day. Right. So it's March of 2015. We're going to have 100 by Christmas Day, and you know what? We absolutely were on track for that. We were bringing them in quickly. And then for every 20 we would bring in, I would fire 15 because I hadn't, it was all on my part. I didn't truly appreciate what I was talking about at the time. I was bringing in a lot of part-time people, a lot of unproductive people, a lot of people that just were looking for a place to hang their license. And then I couldn't figure out what was going on. When we have a business meeting, you show up, and you show up on time. You show up early. You don't? Well, you're out of here. Oh, we would bring in five. We would have a business meeting. I would fire four of them because they didn't show up. And so then we said, okay, well, this isn't who we are. So who are we going to be when we grow up? So then I went through my phase of we're only going to work with the highly productive agents.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. If I only have 10 of them, they're going to be 10 that I love and support and help, and they're going to be highly productive. And I talked to you about that, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase what you said. John did one of these. He goes, well, you're not wrong. You're 100% right. Most people don't do it that way. And so we went to a period where we go, wow, we're bringing in agents that we love, but we're really having a hard time paying the bills around here. And now what we've come to that, I think I'm just the guy that had to touch the stove to figure out it's hot. Your comment, most people don't do it that way. I got the message, and we went, okay, so let's develop a minimum standards program. So who are we going to be? Well, I know who we would like to be, but I don't know how practical that is for this industry right now. So let's get together some of our associates and let's talk about a minimum standards program. And that really helped things. So what we said is, look, no part-time. You got to be full-time. Now, we're not going to judge you on what you've done in the past, but we will judge you on what you do going forward. So we're going to set a minimum number of transactions that you have to close each year. We're going to say that out of every 12 business meetings we have a year, you have to attend 10 of them. We'll give you 2 excused absences. And outside that, we've got some other things that you have to apply to, but we're going to understand that lots of people are coming from a lot of different places in their real estate career. And just because you're in a place right now where you're not highly productive doesn't mean that we can't coach you to that place or that your life situation won't change that will enable you to get there. So I feel much better about where we are today. We're real focused on our recruiting. We know who we're looking for. We know what we want to be when we grow up. We've got a better idea of it anyhow. And we're now the 41 associates I have. Mostly very proud of most of them. We've got some mistakes in there. But I think our goal for April is to add 5. Our goal for this year is to add about 5 to 6 a month of ones that we want to keep. One thing that I'm really proud of is of the associates, the 33 that have left in the past 14 months, I really can't think of one that I go, wow, that hurts.
Right.
So that's really my goal is, look, if we want to keep you, our unique value proposition that we worked out is what's special and different about us is that I've been an agent. I've done pretty good production numbers for an agent. I think I know how to teach and coach that, especially when I've got you behind me, kind of keeping my perspective correct. And that's our value proposition. We can coach you to the degree you want to be coached. We can coach you to higher production. And we've set up systems and programs to do that. We've developed our own selling system. We have a daily affirmations call at 8 a.m. every morning. We scream from our belly. There's daily affirmations and scream therapy all built into the same call. We do a practice session at 8:30 where you can call in and we handle objections and call capture techniques. We do a 90-minute coaching session every week for everybody. And we invite associates from all over Atlanta. If you have a real estate license, you're welcome to participate. And that's how we recruit. We'll let you, to use my Cheplak language, we will let you come experience us. When you experience us, you will be drawn to us. That's our goal.
Well, and that's such an interesting one because you've seen it through your career and you've seen it in leading people now, and I'll talk to other broker owners and it's like, oh no, there's a moat with gators and the wall is this high, and okay, well, let's talk about the 1,000 people that'll go sit with a top coach or a top trainer. What percentage actually take action? Well, and that's really where I used to do the grind recruit, and then I stepped back one day and I looked, and I think it was in a Tom Ferry or a Mike Ferry event, and I said, wow, the same people keep coming back. There's a connectivity here. The best doggone recruiters on the planet are Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, the Joe Stumps, all those guys, because they've got agents who are already taking a look at a fraction of their commission they're sharing with the broker. Okay. And now they're taking even more of their commission to invest. And so they keep coming back. They don't take cash, they keep coming back. So there's that connectivity. I thought, wow. And then one day it was like this. I wonder how I would feel if Mike Ferry or Tom Ferry or Joe Stump opened an office across the street from me. Whoa. And that's when that shift took place.
All right.
Because here's what we know, and we see it, Mike, all the time, and it's still and again, with all due respect, everyone has their approach, but you know, you're an old school salesman, and I've been around it for a little bit myself too. Is I can tell people I'm great, someone else can tell them I'm great, or I can demonstrate it, and that's what's taking place. Talk about that, because I think there's a big draw, and it's interesting. I was talking to a couple other broker owners, and it's so similar in some interviews I've done in the last week, and that greatest draw they have is their experience in the marketplace. They've played in the trenches. They have that credibility. Talk about this training. I mean, it's a recruiting program that you have, that you've created, you've designed. Talk about that system that you have in place right now, that
Sure.
you're using to extend out. Hey, have an experience of Century 21 Connect Realty and Mike Prewett and my leadership before you join us.
Well, first, in full disclosure, I've ripped off most of it from you and other people over time. So, you can sue me. Come on. When I looked around, at least the Atlanta real estate landscape, what I'm seeing is there's a lot of training out there, but to use your term, it's not very relevant. It doesn't help anybody do more transactions or find balance in their life. The other thing that's going on is, so our average productivity in Atlanta is, per agent productivity is under 4 transactions a year.
Wow.
So that's really bad. The other thing that's going on is, while we're selling less than 4 homes a year, we say we're working all the time. And I don't think we're working all the time. I think what it is we feel like we're working all the time. We are on call all the time. So it's looking at this and it's like, why? And then when you look at the training's just so bad. And from my position, I look at it, I'm like, well, I wouldn't go to any of this stuff. And then I remembered something that Lee Trevino said, the famous golfer, right? Yes. Lee Trevino used to have a little saying that I won't take a lesson from anybody that can't beat me. And the funny thing about that is, during that time, there were probably only 2 or 3 people in the world that could even compete with me.
Sure.
That's right. I'm not taking a training class from anybody that hasn't done my production or more. What do you have to offer? And then it hit me. The people running these real estate companies never did any production themselves. Not really to speak of. They never did any high production. So they never had to learn work-life balance. Okay, so what are we doing? Well, can we just break it down into some components? So what we did is we came up with a Connect selling system. We broke it down into 7 key components, most of which I ripped off from you. And then we teach that every Wednesday from 10 to 11:30, and we invite everybody in the real estate to come. And we talk about sphere of influence, which we did last week, and how to, everybody has a sphere. We're not talking about having a sphere of influence. We're talking about an effective strategy for working with your sphere.
What a concept.
And then we do, so I love Mike Ferry. I grew up in Mike's system.
Yes.
It works.
We all do.
It does work.
Yes.
And I've got a 26-year-old here that's averaging 8 to 10 closings a month because I plug him into Mike Ferry's thing, and it works for me.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. But here's the problem. It works if you'll do it.
Yes.
So this is a business of the willing. What are you willing to do? And if you're willing to get on the phone and prospect for 3 to 4 hours a day, then I will guarantee you, I don't even care how good you are at it. If you will make enough calls, you will absolutely generate a lot of business.
Yes.
But what if you aren't willing to do it? So this isn't to give Mike a hard time. I've talked to him about this, and his answer is, well, you're wrong. I'm like, well, you have more money than I do, so I would say you're probably right that I'm wrong.
Or he'd tell you that. He's great.
But Mike himself will walk out on stage and say this: I want to thank you to the 1,000 of you that are in the room. You bought me my new house. I love it. I want to thank you. And we're having this event at a 5-star resort. And I want you to go to the spa and the pool and the restaurants. And I want you to have a great time this week, because all but 3 of you, what you're going to get out of this is you're going to get a nice vacation. I get up and leave early. Go to dinner early. Get up and leave in the middle of my talk because you have a spa appointment. I think you should, because that is all you're going to get out of this week. 3 of you, we're going to change your life. And my 26-year-old who's like me, it changes your life. But that's only 3. So if I have 41 associates here and I have one that will do that, well, what do I do with the other 40? They have to have something too that allows them to get some traction and grow their business. So what we've done with our selling system is just try to break it down into what you will do. Now, I won't let my 26-year-old come to those because sphere of influence, just to give you a taste. We say, well, look, here's what we want you to do. First, you've got to build out your CRM, because it is a basic building block to your business. But then here's what I want you to do. I want you to call 5 a day. Just 5. Do not call 6. Only call 5. Why? Because most people will. Should they call more? Of course they should call more, but they won't. So why? That's the problem with the coaching that's out there now. If you're going to work with me and you're going to stand up on stage and say, I know you won't do it, but this is all I'm going to teach, then okay, well then you're making a lot of money, but I'm not getting any better. So I think that's one of the things that's great about real estate is there's not only one way to be successful. And with our selling system, what we've done is identify 7 key components. Sphere of influence. Tomorrow we've got social media. That is a 100% John Cheplak ripoff. But we're showing how to use social media to grow your business, not beyond Facebook, but have a strategy to Facebook. And sometimes it's an anti-strategy. Cut out the politics. Cut out the what we call lifestyle flaunting, where you're taking a picture showing us how pretty you are sitting in your brand new Mercedes. Because when your customers, and this is what you taught me, what's your digital body language, right? Oh, I use that. We'll send out a blast to promote our social media thing, and our title is, what's your digital body language? Bam. The open response rate jumps.
Wow.
People are going, oh, that's right. My customers are doing the exact same thing I do. When I have an appointment with them tonight, they are absolutely checking me out online. And what are they experiencing about me? That we had an agent that I had to ask to pursue other endeavors who went on a cruise. I've got no problem with vacations. I'm a big vacation guy myself. But all she posted was, look at me, look at the lifestyle I lead, look at the pedicure I'm getting on the cruise ship. I'm like, what are you doing? This is worse than the politics. When people log on, what do they think? They think you're a silly real estate agent that makes too much money. That's what they think. That's can't be the strategy you're looking for, right? So we go at marketing, having a geographic farm, that type of thing. Another session on working with for sale by owners and expireds. And here's the thing with that we've tried to build into our program. I'm not teaching the Mike Prewett for sale by owner program where you call for hours a day. Call 2. You're not allowed to call 3. Call 2. Speak to 2. See them. Knock on the door. Hey, Hey, it's Mike at Century 21. I'm the guy you spoke to this morning on the phone. I just wanted to stop by and say thanks for being nice to me. You didn't have to be. I've got to run. I've got an appointment. Good luck.
I remember that one. I remember that one in rain gear in Seattle. All I wanted to do was I didn't just one time because I knew everyone else was scared to death. If I could call them on the phone, nice or not nice. My mom taught me this one because she was in real estate. She's a single mom, and her first cold call, she was selling cocktail lounges and bars. First guy hangs up on her. And so, my mom was a survivor. She's working 2 other jobs, and she was an admin person in a real estate office. And she looked at the old timers downtown Seattle, so I can outsell you. Here's this 25-year-old guy. They laugh at her. So she gets blown off by this guy. So you know what she does? She drives out to the bar, sits down at the bar. Would you like a beer? No, I'll take a soda. And so the guy brings her his drink, and she says, "Are you the owner?" She says, "Yeah." He says, "I'm the person you were rude to." That was my mom. That's what she did.
That is awesome.
To this day, Mike, he has been her very best. And we're talking, okay, 27 years ago. He's continued to do business, investment, everything. So, anyways, that one, just be the face, show up.
So, if somebody said, just give me one thing that you got from John Cheplak in the last year, I would say it's this, and it is our for sale by owner expired listing strategy, which is you don't have to be a jerk to people to sell to them. You can actually be nice to people and sell to them. Here's a shock. You can just be nice and helpful and friendly and to agents in recruiting. It takes the pressure off me in the recruiting. So I meet with an agent yesterday, and I'm not feeling pressure to get him to make a decision. I don't want him to make a decision until he feels it's right for him. And guess what? I need to figure out that it's right for me too. So it's inappropriate to ask him if he wants to join our company until it's not inappropriate anymore.
So good.
And I needed that expectation set from you. So you say it's 14 to 16 touches. Yes. Like, wow, it's not one. I don't call them up on the phone and give them the closing line and they go, yes, I'll be over. Would 4 or 6 work for you today? Well, I'll be over at 4 and I'll move my entire real estate business over because you called me today.
Yeah, don't worry about my listings. My listings and escrows. Oh, don't worry. You're just so good. You handled my objection so well. Let me just dump my business. Come on over.
See how ridiculous it sounds?
I mean, come on.
Of course you're not going to join after one. What are we thinking? And so I use that. To use my Cheplak language, I repurpose it and I take it to our agents and I said, so let me see if I got this right. You called a for sale by owner today and they didn't want to drop everything and list their house with you. I'm shocked. Don't they know who you are? How about this? How about if you stop by, you called them once, now every 2 days stop by and give them something that might be helpful to them. Right. They need a sales contract. They need disclosure forms. They could use some sold comparables. They could use some tips. Be helpful to them. Be the guy that's saying, I know you don't want to list your house. If you did, you would have by now. But if you change your mind, I'd like to be considered. And what I find, John, and that was such a big help. That was a game changer for me because even all of our agents now will say, I could do that.
Yes.
They don't always do it, but they all participate in the coaching sessions and they all go, yeah, I could do that. I could talk to 2 a day and just be nice to them and be friendly and be helpful and be the guy that's getting in position that when the day comes and you do change your mind. And that was, after 20 some years in the business, that was like jaw dropping to me when you had to say it 5 or 6 times before I got it. But when I finally got it, I went, oh, I don't have to be Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross with you, right? I don't have to be that way. I can be nice. I can recruit or I can sell with integrity.
Yes.
Wow. It takes so much conflict away.
Well, it does, and here's where I think you captured it. And when we sat in that room, you go back to the Century 21 convention, and I asked everyone. I said, "What percent? Raise your hand if you're frustrated because you interview someone. It went so good, you feature benefited them. The energy was great, but they don't return your phone call. They don't return your emails afterwards. And they're rude, aren't they, for doing that? Yeah, they're rude. Well, no, you are because you were irrelevant because agents aren't 95% of the time. Because remember, I had them raise their hand. I said, what percentage of agents today is it under 5% that are really looking to make a move right now? And they said, yeah, under 5%. So what are they thinking about right now? The listing presentation, the social media initiative, their CRM. So why not have a relevant conversation about that? And so what you're doing is you're saying, oh, okay, everyone else is recruiting by content. They still are. They still think that works. And there's a time where you go into the features and benefits, like you said, when that permission will show up. You'll feel it, or they'll tell you. But
Right.
but now what I'm doing is I have context. I'm talking to them because let's see, they're thinking about the listing presentation tomorrow, the price reduction today. So why not have a conversation there? And so that's where your recruiting is focused right now. Tell me this, and not me, but everyone else, more importantly. So you're recruiting prospecting right now. Does it consist of any just straight cold call, or is it just we are funneling people into we're using video marketing, email marketing, telephone calls. We're just funneling people into our system of training, allowing them to have the experience and then following up, or talk about the dynamic of how the system works then, because here's what you've got the space for them to have the experience. How are you bringing them into that?
So that's a really key part. To set the stage for that, unfortunately, in this industry, we appear to have commoditized ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get into the heart of hearts with most productive agents, what I would have said is, I don't think the company I'm with makes any difference. And that's where, you talk about feature dumping. It's why feature dumping doesn't work, because nobody believes it. Nobody, at least in my marketplace anyhow. I'm not going to sit down with an agent and get them to believe that my brand or my franchise or my staff or our environment or anything is any different than where they are now or where they've been in the past. They don't believe it. So we have done to ourselves what the airlines have done to themselves is, hey, if travel's going to suck, then I'm buying the cheapest ticket I can get. And that's kind of where we've gotten in the real estate industry from my experience. So the way we recruit now is, well, our unique value proposition is I can coach to any level.
Yeah, there's no
So
cap for you.
my wife just grinds her teeth when I whip out my Cheplakisms, but she'll say, "What you doing today?" I said, "Well, we've got 40 agents that are coming in to experience me." Really, who talks like this in the world besides you people? I'm like, well, that's our recruiting strategy. So tomorrow we have a coaching session that we offer from 10 to 11:30.
Okay.
And we invite all 16,000 licensed agents in Atlanta to come.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get 50 plus ours, and we are never approaching them about joining our company.
And we discussed that when you were, remember, we discussed that when you had the vision and said, okay, John, I get it. It's like you talked about the FISBO. I am going to consult with the FISBO, essentially, until they're ready or until they recognize or whatever it may be. I'm going to consult with the agent. And we had those conversations. We said, so John, do I, at the end of the session, how do I close them at the end of the session? And and so talk specifically. Number one, I want to point out and say again, repeat so that people hear this. So Mike, what you're saying is you've got 50 agents from other companies that aren't afraid to come into your company and attend your training on a consistent basis. I mean, sometimes it may be more or less, but I want everyone to hear that's what you just said, right?
Yeah, it helps a little bit because I've got a little bit of market presence from my past production. So if I offer a coaching class that has a little bit of traction to it. So yeah, we get agents from every brand, every independent that you can that exists. And our strategy with this is to be the company we would like to think we are.
Mm-hmm.
So our strategy is if we actually are what we like to say we are, people will be drawn to us. They'll want to come. And it's actually working. They basically do this. Wow, I'm not getting this where I'm at. Well, that's a shame. Well, is there space here? I mean, you had said one of the reasons they won't join your company is they don't feel they're worthy. That is shocking to me, but that might be one of the top 2 or 3 reasons why they don't come over.
Period.
They don't think we want them, and sometimes that would be true, but a lot of times it's not. So the environment that we're trying to create is, look, I don't want to run around Atlanta trying to talk to agents into joining my company. What I want you to do is I want you to come experience what we've got going on here, decide if that's right for you. If it is, I might gently ask you to raise your hand, but you're pretty much going to have to raise your hand and say, I'm interested. Can you talk to me more about that?
So you're telling them, but watch this. I want people to hear this. You're telling them how the recruiting process is going to go, Mike.
Yeah, we're going to give you, I mean, this is all from you, John. We're going to give you enough value, enough coaching value where you're going to go, wow, I wonder why my company isn't doing this. I mean, they charge me for the coaching I get. I pay for Bold, and it's not this relevant. And I had to hear you talk about relevancy about a dozen times before I went, oh, right. It's not relevant. So all the stuff that you're teaching doesn't help me sell one more house this month. Help me sell one more house this month. Right. Okay. Well, then now let's don't teach you stuff that you're not going to do. So would you call and speak to 2 for sale by owners a day? Would you do that? Yeah, I could do that. Okay. Now you got to go see them. Well, I don't know what to say. And it's like videos. You say the reason people don't want to make videos, they don't know what to say.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't want you to use scripts and dialogues. I'm not opposed to scripts and dialogues, but you have to master them or you're going to sound like some call center out of India. So I don't think you're willing to master them. So then don't use them. Throw them away. Well, then I don't know what to do. Do you know how to be nice to people? Yes. Then go be nice to people. Like, not like fake, manipulative nice, like generally.
Sure.
John, I see you're trying to sell your house. I'm a professional in the area. I need to know what homes are selling for. Do you mind if I ask? Where do you plan on moving? And then shut up and listen to what people tell you. Actually be interested. If you don't want to cold call every day, what are you willing to do? And so we just pretty much ripped off everything you said, John. We try to offer help and real value and to the best we can. And then when people come, look, we're not going to violate the trust and the integrity from this. This isn't like, okay, we got you here. Now we're going to recruit the daylights out of you.
Right.
We're not going to do it. We're not going to talk about our company. We're not going to talk bad about yours. And we're not going to give you a hard pitch. If I ever give a pitch at all, and sometimes I do, I'll ask permission for it. Hey, do you guys mind if I give a 30-second commercial on my company before we stop? And then just by asking that permission, I've not had anybody yet say no. They kind of get it. And they say, look, there's 3 or 4 of us here to answer any questions if you'd like. But we're not violating the integrity of what we were trying to offer. We're really offering relevant coaching that you can apply in your business no matter what you're willing to do. You could do this. To say you weren't willing to do what we teach would sound so hopelessly inadequate that you would just quit the business. Can you call 5 people that you already know every day? Yeah, I can do that. Okay, that's all I'm going to ask you to do.
So good. So good.
So, a lot of that has just been, I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't have bumped into you. I would still be doing the hard sell. And the problem with that is not that it doesn't work. I'm not going to do it.
Sure.
That's kind of where I came from. You know what? I'm not going to do the I've got a guy that I talk to, he's sending out 1,000 text messages a day for recruiting. And I think that's great. I mean, and it's worked for him. And I think that's awesome. I'm not going to do that. Okay, well, what am I going to do then, right? You still have to have a strategy. And your program allowed us to recruit from an integrity point of view. And our hardest problem has been when we recruit like that, you do have to ask for the business from time to time. So how do you do that and not violate that? And I know you and I had a call recently where I was saying, I've got 50 people in the room, but they're evaporating. What do I do? And you were great, and your suggestion worked perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, feel the room and ask for permission. And like you said, they'll give it to you. I mean, they will give it to you. Getting people to show up. What's your primary form of prospect? Telephone, email, video, social. If 50 people show up tomorrow, what would you say is the primary source, or are there different silos that you're using to funnel people into the training / recruiting program that you have?
So that's the hard part, is getting people to show up, because again, I think we've commoditized ourselves and they don't believe anything anymore. I mean, agents have become really hardened to all the pitches that are out there. So we use email blast to touch everybody with. I have a light recruiter on staff. She's pretty new to the business, but I have her calling people that we've co-opted with for my team, agents that have attended past sessions, a target list that we have, and issuing them a verbal invitation to come, explaining a little bit more about what it is. And that really helps. That's when we do that, it spikes up the participation. We still have, a 35 to 50% no-show rate. So if we get 70 people to show up, we're going to get, we never know, but it's not going to be more than 50. But that's okay.
Well, and that's in line, as we've talked about too. And I started tracking this number actually it was at 95, across the, personally. And then, I've been fortunate enough to just hang around. I think we both agree. We've hung around long enough and learned from it all that you start, getting some, if you just look backwards, say this worked, that didn't work. But about 50% across the board, no show or reschedule ratio for interviews. And so when you look at, the interview process or the bringing them into the experience, that's it. Now, here's the other thing I want to point out, though, that's true too. And again, with all due respect from the texting standpoint, what I share with people and what you've done, though, is you've created a scalability because you're funneling people into essentially a group interview. So, if you say, we're going to be, and we've had this discussion, like, where's John, am I going to be a 1,000, agent company, or am I going to be 100, or am I going to be 10? Or, we've looked at all those things. The nice thing is what you have in place is a scalability. I mean, certainly bringing other people in, support staff that can handle whether it's the follow-up and the interviewing that naturally takes place when people are interested. So that's number one. I mean, I think that's so strong. The other leverage piece now, so your agents can attend this too, and do they, or is this just separate fully for outside agents, or is it, no, John, it's a beautiful world. This is my company training program that's ongoing and my recruiting program all in one.
Well, I would like to claim that I'm so smart that I designed it all out from the very beginning, but the way it really started was I need to offer coaching to our associates because that's what I said I was going to do.
Sure.
If you come to work here, we're going to offer a lot of coaching and training and mentoring to you. Okay, well, now I have to really do that. So I started it off going, okay, well, if I'm really going to do it, I can't coach each one of them at this level every day. I won't have any time. So I said, well, we'll do one a week. And all the advice I got was don't do it. And if you do it, don't do it for 90 minutes. But that's what we said we were going to do. Now, whether you show up or not, I can only help those. I can only help the willing. I can only help the ones that show up. And I had to mentally get to the point where I didn't keep track of who wasn't participating. I just.
You mean agents don't show up for every sales meeting and every training? Shocking news, right?
But then I'm a little slow on the uptake sometimes. So I'm sitting there one day and I'm going, well, I'm doing this. we've got space in the room. Why don't we start asking other people to come? Oh, well, so my Cheplakism is I repurposed it. So I do one thing and then it has multiple benefits to it. It's no different than your video strategy really. I'd sit there and listen to it and I go, that's right, you make one video, but you have a dozen different platforms for it and uses. Right. Okay. Well, we can do that with this. And then, okay, so we are coaching and mentoring our associates. And this is not a bad recruiting platform if we can get people to come. So now we're doing that. And what it does is it has turned our associates into salespeople for us in a way that, we offered monetary incentives. If you bring somebody to us, we will give you so much money. And they didn't get any traction at all. They just kind of shrug and go, yeah. But now there was an industry event in Atlanta this past Thursday night. We've got 20 of our associates there. And I'm listening to the conversations they're having with people from other companies. I'm like, I offered to pay you to do this. They are energized and excited for the first time. This sounds a tad arrogant, so I'm going to apologize. But the sense is, for the first time in their real estate career, they feel like they're giving practical advice that they can implement, and they really feel optimistic about their business because somebody's not telling them to go do the very things that everybody in the conversation knows they are not going to do. Right. And I give you a lot of credit for that. I came to Phoenix. Yes. So the event you had in Phoenix in December, early December?
We were November or December, somewhere in there, yes.
Okay, so in our business, I get really guilty of this. I've been in real estate in Atlanta for 28 years. I mean, I'm not going to say I know it all, but I mean, there's not much new under the sun sometimes. It's kind of the attitude that you can get. And I'm listening to you for the first morning go over this video stuff, and I'm just not getting it. And when we were at lunch that day, I asked you, I was like, you won't remember this, but it changed everything for me. I'm like, John, who's watching these videos?
Oh, I remember that.
So if I make a video, who is going onto YouTube and doing a search for a Mike Prewett video? And you said, if I get it right, you're like, well, nobody's doing that, Mike. You put it on your social platforms and it pushed. I went, oh, now I get it. And now everything that you taught us about how to use video for our company promotion, I'm just able to repurpose it and teach it to our associates. So, and they have the same aha moment, like, well, you should be making 2 or 3 videos a day for your real estate business. I don't get why. Well, let me give you one idea. And you just give them one idea, and then you just see the lights coming on and like, oh my gosh, right. Have you seen anybody else in Atlanta do that? No. Can you see how it would make you look unique and differentiated? Yes. And it costs nothing. I get out of here and go do it. So and I had the same thing. I just go straight to the airport and get back home as quickly as possible after Phoenix.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that because it's, what I loved is we sat there for 2 days and had some brilliant folks in the room and some great interaction. But you and I talked a lot about that social media and the video and all those spaces, and you went back and took action. Talk about what social media in your leadership, in your recruiting, and video, the combination, because you've done a really, really good job. I remember I came back and boom, here comes this video to me. What do you think? And it's like, whoa, this guy, most people go entry level. Hey, John, I'm on myself, and which is great. They're doing it, like you and I are talking about. Talk to 2 people today because I know you won't talk to 3, whereas, the young buck that's going at it, listen, you don't even want to be exposed to that because I want to talk to 33 in an hour. I remember those days myself, a little bit old for that, but, you said, hey, if I'm doing this thing, I'm doing it right. But talk about from, really, the end of the first of the year going forward, talk about what social media has meant, the social media and the video combined, and really your initiative with that. How are you using it?
Well, I mean, you blew my mind in Phoenix, and I come back with I counted up one day, 34 pages of notes. it was, where were we there? 2 days?
2 days,
I
yeah.
mean, it makes 34 pages of notes in 2 days. But there's so many ideas around this. So what we try to do is, okay, so the same thing we teach our agents. What's our digital body language? If you're an sales associate in Atlanta and you're checking us out, what's your experience of us online? And so we need to be an authoritative expert. Okay, sound familiar? You've heard that word before? Okay. So that's our goal. We want to be known as an authoritative expert. We're not looking to be silly, so let's be careful about what we post. And everybody's worn out with the pictures. So, like I tell our associates, look, I'm not saying it's bad to post a picture of your new listing on Facebook. It just makes me yawn. Post a video of your new listing on Facebook. And how about if there's some people in the video? Because I don't like looking at pictures of things. I like looking at pictures of people. Sure. So how about if you get the homeowners to be home and then ask them, hey, John, what have you enjoyed the most about living in this home? And put the people in the video. It makes it watchable and makes it relevant. So when we're recruiting, we want our online body language to look appropriate, look relevant. We also want to get personal with it. So if we were recruiting you, John, I would want to send you a message and overcome one of the top 3 objections. Hey, John, it's Mike over at Century 21. I enjoyed our conversation the other day, and thanks for coming to our class on Wednesday. I hope you got something out of it. Hey, John, I could tell by talking to you that you were the kind of sales associate that I would enjoy working with. And that's the purpose of my message today, to let you know how much I would enjoy working with you in your day-to-day real estate business. If you ever get to the point where that's a consideration, I hope you'll reach out to me. And that's a video.
And that's your follow-up. It's so, and you know what's so interesting and so beautiful is, and I share with people, agents, broker owners, managers, they're not afraid of video. They're terrified. And what's so beautiful is, number one, we see the result that's taking place. I got a text message from a recruiter from a large organization in Ohio, and she coaches one-on-one with me, and it was great because she's at 6 a.m. Monday, and I said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to do a pre-interview video, post-interview video. Well, what about selfie like this? She sends, so okay, I'm going to do it. I've got an interview tomorrow, so I'm going to test it. Like you got off the airplane from Arizona and said, I'm going to do it. Well, she's a doer. I get a text message from her. She said, I can't believe it. She sent me her little video that she did, and the agent comes back to her and says, I will be there, and so will, I think it was Joe. We both can't wait to be there. What a really cool way to send a message. I need to do this more in my business. So, and you know this, you're a brilliant guy. It's not even what you said. It's the symbolism. I mean, you say so many things. What did I say? I'm tech savvy. That's the biggie right there. I mean, the positioning. I mean, you are interviewing, what you're getting, what you're doing. Your interview started and continues on long after. I don't know that it's follow-up. I think it's a constant interviewing process that's going on.
Well, how can I possibly coach my associates if I'm not doing the same thing? So we just repurpose it with them. Hey, if you have a listing appointment tonight, what if you send them a selfie video before the appointment and tell them what you're going to talk about? And then after the appointment, don't leave the driveway. Sit there in your car and say, hey, John, it's Mike at Century 21. Yes, I am sitting in the driveway of your home, and I'm super excited. The opportunity to sell a home like yours is invigorating. I hope that I'll be considered. And send it. Don't leave the driveway. Who else is doing that?
Home run. It's a home run. I'll have people will laugh and, oh, that's foolish, or even broker and manager. They'll say, okay, well, let me send you a text I just got from an agent client. Let me send you, but they're terrified. And the key piece is you guys are getting it done. So
it's a great recruiting thing too, because when you sit in a room and that's what you talk about, instead of, as you would say, feature dumping on them. I had a meeting with a recruit yesterday, and we're just talking about his business, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about your business. Tell me what you're doing. And he's telling me, well, I really focus on for sale by owners. I said, well, tell me what you're doing. What's your strategy?
It's so
And he
beautiful.
tells me. And then I say, well, what if you did this? He's like, wow, that's good. And I said, and what if you tag this onto it? He's like, that's great. And the whole time you can see the expression on his face is, why isn't my broker telling me this stuff?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But, I'll get guilty of this. I really will. 28 years in Atlanta real estate, I think I got it all covered. And then I go to Phoenix and I go, oh, damn. Okay. And here's the thing about video. This is what's really hard. It was really hard for me. You said it was going to be hard, and it is. I don't like the way I sound, and I don't look like you, so I don't like the way I look. And it is a great weight loss program. It beats Jenny Craig and everything else.
Right?
Yourself on video and go, damn, Mike, could lose a few pounds.
It's the best.
It's the best. So I don't look like you, and I don't sound like Jim Nance. And you just sit there and you find all the flaws in yourself because I'm totally self-absorbed at times. And then, then Cheplak comes into my mind and says, you get over yourself, dude.
Yeah.
And they're like, right, if I'm not willing to lose the weight, then get over myself. And hey, for anybody that's watching this and isn't following John's advice with the video, it is what you look like. It is what you sound like. It is who you are. It's what the rest of the world already thinks of you. So get over yourself. And the videos are a great way for us to differentiate ourselves. And John, I just can't thank you enough for that help. It's, we don't have the most agents in Atlanta. It's not our goal. Our goal is to lead the Atlanta region in per agent productivity.
Mm-hmm.
That's our goal.
Mm-hmm.
We want our associate. I don't care how many we have. We have what we have. We want our agents to be very productive, and we're going to accomplish that by providing the coaching and mentoring for the modern agent. And this is the modern tool. And agents, unfortunately, I think if you've been in the business more than 5 years, I think you got a lot of things working against you. And these tools, these new technologies, and these new strategies that you talk about, our willingness to not adapt new strategies is a huge obstacle. It's a huge obstacle for me. Video. Who's going to want to watch my video?
Well, and then staying up to speed, not to bore everyone, but I tell people right now I am in a 20, if I look at my work week, whatever that is, I don't know if either of us could really figure, what is our work week? It's life. But as I measure it, I think right now it's probably in a 20% of it is in a learning space. I mean, I was watching through I've got 2 business coaches now for different areas, and I was watching one of the training webinars from my one coach for an hour and a half last night. I got up and had a 5 a.m. coaching call today with an agent in Virginia, and at 4 a.m. I was it's this. You've got to stay up to speed. And I think that's, the thing that I want to point out here is, number one, you've got a track record of success. But then what you did is you recognize I'm going into a leadership role, and you've constantly educated yourself and transfer it to your agents. And I think the big mistake that many leaders make, many broker owners, managers make, is they feel that they've arrived and I'm the business person, I'm the CEO, and here I am. And I think that's a big differentiator for you, and people experience that.
So here's what one of the folks in Phoenix. So I learned a lot from you, but I got to sit next to Joe Viascusa for 2 days.
A legend.
A legend. One of them told me here's what your job is, Mike. Your job is to know more than your most polished, experienced agent. And your agents have to know more than their most polished, experienced consumer. So my job every day is I've got to know who's my edgiest agent.
Mm-hmm.
I got to know more than him.
Mm-hmm.
Because the day the day he knows more than me, I'm irrelevant to him. So
it's beautiful. It's beautiful advice, and that was, and even myself, as a coach and a trainer, I'm the student, I'm the fortunate one that sat in that room, and how fortunate we were to have someone like Joe. What was it, last month, I think year to date, he was the #1 office in the Century 21 system year to date, which is an area he plays around all the time. He's right in there. Um, but I think he's an exact model. You know, he's been in that broker owner space for a long time, but he's that exact model of what you're doing too. In that, you know what, I am going to be the most competent, relevant leader in the marketplace. And I think, you know, one other thing that was really
I
cool too,
love that
because
guy.
huh?
I love that guy.
Is he the best? He's great. But you know what was cool though too is go back to our conversation because you were in that discovery space. You know, we're talking late November, December, January, February, March, April. Well, about 4 or 5. Gosh, it wasn't too long ago. But yet you were still in this discovery space of, you know, bringing people in, the identifiers, and Joe was very candid and said, listen, at first, you know, you learn real quickly what type of agent that evolves. I mean, the way you interview someone, always with respect, but the way you interviewed someone 12, 13 months ago, the way you chose is dramatically different. Joe, you know, today versus 20 years ago, he shared with us how that's different. Remember that conversation?
Right. Well, listening to Joe say, "You don't come into my office without a tie on," I'm like, "Oh, I like that." And
Oh,
then you said, "Yeah, well, you know, you're a rookie, Mike. I mean, maybe that isn't year one rules, but
right?
right. But when you get to Joe's place in the industry, you can do that."
I mean, you walk in there and the men are in a tie and the women are in a business suit, or I mean, it is, and they're so proud. They're so proud. That's a modeling similar to, you know, you want just that professional environment there. So, well,
It's incredible to be able to be in a room with people like he and Ryan and I'm gonna leave somebody out, but the
Rybell,
two
Stephen, the Kai's company, different model. They
oh,
bring in over 1,000 people a year into their company, but a great organ. You got to pop down there and give Steve a call and go down there and hang out with him and
who's
check
the guy in Indianapolis?
Indianapolis. Was it Indianapolis or Iowa?
The agent.
Oh,
I give
Josh Coleman. Josh,
Josh. Right.
he's in Phoenix. Guess what he's done since January? So I coached him one on one. After that, he grew his team from 2 people to 23. He's sitting at 23 people on his team now.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I mean the chance to interact with people like that in an intense environment for a couple of days, huge.
Yeah,
Huge.
that was good. So, well, number one, thank you so much. And I know that everyone that gets the opportunity to watch this, to listen to this, will be certainly grateful and play it and listen to it over and over again. And here's what I'd like to do is allow you an opportunity to share. I mean, you've been so gracious in what you've shared, but you know, what are the 3 things that you would share that are the most critical looking back from, you know, you've had your own company for many years, but when you made the decision, someone's opening up a real estate brokerage firm, says, I've got a team, but now I'm going to start bringing agents in. What do you think are the 3 most critical things to either, if you're a startup today or if you're in a spot and you know you need to go a different direction? What are the 3 most critical things you would suggest for a broker owner manager to do?
Well, that's a really good question. I don't know at this stage of my development if I'm the expert on this, but I know what we've learned in the past year plus is number one, know what you want to be when you grow up. I mean, really, if I go back a year or two, I spend a lot more time figuring out what we really want to be. Um, so that would be job one. Number two is really what's your value proposition to the agent. We say a lot of things in this industry that we don't walk down the road after we say them. Like we're an agent focused company. Yeah, everybody says that, but I mean, so tell me how.
Uh-huh.
When you say things like that, then how are you going to do it? We say we want to lead the Atlanta region in per agent productivity. You better be able to say how you're going to do that, because otherwise you're just making up nice little cute sayings, right? So, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? What's your
What's your value proposition?
yeah, what's your value proposition? What makes you unique and different in your marketplace over everybody else?
Mm-hmm.
And the third is, you know, probably for me, it's the thing I'm still trying to learn is probably my attitude coming more. I need a healthy dose of Cheplak every week. Every Monday I need that, or I start getting out of focus on. It starts becoming too much about me,
Ah,
and I forget the uh, the direction I really want to come from in this, because I really do. I really want to come from a coaching, a helpful direction, but then the pressures of day-to-day business get in, and I go, well, we need X amount of agents working here, and we need this kind of production, and we need this. And I forget that, you know what, Mike's going to get everything he wants when I help you get what you want first. And I'm really bad about forgetting about that. So those Monday calls help me remember. Yeah, you're not going to call somebody today, dude, and have a high producing agent just go, "Well, I was waiting for you to call," which is in our heart of hearts. To be honest, is that's what I really want.
yeah.
I want to call up you, the high producer, and have you go, "Well, I was just waiting for you to call, Mike." And then when can I get started? That's what I want you to say. And getting reminded that my expectations have to get in line, and that I really have to help you first. And then if I do a good job of that, it should be a natural progression for you to go, wow, well, wouldn't I benefit more by working with you every day? And when you don't say that, then I didn't really do a good job. You really didn't feel the value there. If we give you that value first without expectations, it should be a natural, logical, appropriate progression.
Good.
So I don't know if I answered your
No,
question.
that was awesome. Awesome. Well,
Trying to get better at it.
oh, you're great. So, well, listen, thank you so much for your time. It's so valuable. And I know that this contribution is going to support so many people. And we'll come back together too and check in. We're about due for a check in call, I think, also. So we'll do that
Well, I'm
too.
a raving Cheplak fan, so anything I can do anytime, I'm glad to do it. Thank you for the help you've given us.
You
And
bet.
I know you say this to everybody. Reach out and call me. I'm here. You really are. I don't know when you sleep, but you really are. So thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a good one, Mike. Talk to you soon.
All right, buddy.